Go. Diane McCabe is a change coach, facilitator and speaker, as well as the founder and director of The Happy Path, which supports individuals and organisations through change. Diane is a catalyst for positive change in the corporate world. She is an accredited Prosky change practitioner, a certified life coach, and a mental health first aider, and has worked with blue chip organisations including Abbott, Shearing Plough, Cisco Systems, Campbell's Soup, and Arnott's Biscuits. Having lived experience with mental illness since her teenage years and suffering a mental breakdown in the workplace, Diane now works with organisations to positively transform corporate culture in relation to mental health, challenging them to reframe the concept of duty of care. Sought after by individuals and organisations across the globe, Diane has a unique ability to get to the heart of what motivates people to change and enables them to take active responsibility for their future. Diane grew up in a small fishing village in rural Ireland. She relocated to Australia in 1999 and now lives on Sydney's northern beaches with her husband and daughter. Please welcome to the stage, Diane.
Have you ever felt concerned about the mental health of your workplace? Have you ever felt concerned about the mental health of one of your work colleagues or team members? Talking about mental health is really uncomfortable, and talking about mental health in the workplace is even more uncomfortable. I am here today to help you get comfortable with that uncomfortable topic of mental health, to help you improve mental well-being in your organisation by reframing the concept of duty of care. I have found in my 10 years specialising in organisational change that we have well and truly moved out of the era of constant or continuous improvement into an era of constant and never-ending change. And in this era of constant change, we realise we no longer get the luxury of returning ourselves to normal, to getting a breathing space between a big change, a big project, or the next big thing that is hurtling towards us. In this era of constant change, it has impacted how we operate together within the workplace. Our conversations have become less caring and more transactional. And there's really a worrying correlation between this increase in change and the decline in workplace mental health. So why should you care? In our organisations today, 1 in 5 people are taking time off work for their mental health. And what that means is in your workplace, 20% of the people in your team may be suffering with a mental health condition. That is a lot of people that we're not aware of what is going on in their lives. And a more disturbing statistic is that 8 people in Australia choose to take their own life every day. Now, I want to let that statistic sink in a little bit. I ask you to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and have a look around the room. Look into the eyes of the people around you. Can you tell who may be suffering with a mental health condition? Can you tell who may have considered suicide? Can you tell who may need to take time off work for a mental illness in the coming 12 months? There are no labels. It's not so easy to tell. So why am I talking to you about this today? I am someone, a leader in an organisation who has suffered with my mental health since my teenage years. And I have gone through a period of considerable stress and strain. And during that time, I was suffering with panic attacks, anxiety, and spiraling deeper and deeper into depression. And nobody in my workplace knew what was going on. I needed help, and I was afraid to reach out. I remember a pivotal moment, a moment where I was 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm getting ready for work. My husband and daughter are fast asleep, putting on my makeup, bracing myself for the day ahead. And as I walk down the stairs, I'm greeted with my daughter's whiteboard. And on it, it says, "Can I please have some company?" I didn't know how long that had been written there. I didn't know when she had written it there. In that moment, I knew that I was failing in my duty of care as a parent, failing in my duty of care to my daughter, to my husband, and as a leader, I was failing in my duty of care to my team. I took 3 months off work for mental health leave to start that slow building process of recovery. And now the reality is, I was one person in that organization, just one person out of the 1 in 5 in any organization that is suffering with their mental health. The reality is, every day, people come to work with stresses and strains. They're carrying what's happening in their life into the workplace. Whether it is the joy of being a new parent, which is tinged with lack of sleep or postnatal depression. It may be people who are suffering with financial stresses and strains. It may also be people who have caring for an unwell family member. They may have their own mental illness like depression, bipolar. They may be suffering the loss of a loved one through grief, or they may also be struggling with a substance abuse for themselves. So these things that impact our mental health are not always mental illness. It can happen to us in waves up and down through all of us every day of our life at any point in time. And we take those into the workplace, where the average person spends 90,000 hours of their life. And the workplace comes with its own stresses and strains to come down on top of us. Beyond Blue define a mentally healthy workplace as one that protects and promotes the mental health of people and empowers them to seek help for the benefit of the individual, for the organization, and for the community. As a change coach, facilitator, and speaker, and someone with lived experience with mental illness, I now work with organizations to help them transform their corporate culture in relation to mental health. I help them to reframe the concept of duty of care with 3 guiding principles. Duty of care, as we reframe it, in organizations, they are very much aware, and leadership are aware, of what their duties are. So on one side, we have duty factor, the things they are obliged to do. Where my program comes into play is to help them to balance that with care factor, the basic human connection of caring for those that you work with. And those 3 guiding principles that I would like to share with you today, number 1 is care for self. When I work with these organizations through workshops, through speaking events, encouraging people, the only person who can help you with your mental health is you. Helping people take personal responsibility so they care for themselves before they care for others. In this, we encourage people to make sure that they identify when their mental health may be going into decline and what are some tactics that help them through those times. It also encourages getting a buddy system in place so you know who those go-to people are should you need to reach out for help. Step number 2 is then to create that environment where we care for others. Here I work with the leadership team on a strategy and policies in the workplace. But at its most grassroots level, this is encouraging people to look around their organization, notice when someone isn't going for lunch anymore, notice when someone is not feeling themselves, and to check in on them. Where this comes together in reframing duty of care is creating a culture where people have courageous conversations. This means that the person who is seeking help feels the courage to speak out and ask for help. And for those people who want to offer help but don't know how or feel a little bit uncomfortable, that they can come and offer help because now they have the tools and tactics to be able to make those courageous conversations. As part of these courageous conversations, today there may be someone, as I talk to you, that springs to mind for you. If there's someone in your workplace, in your personal life, that you think, maybe I need to have a courageous conversation with them if their mental health is going into decline. So let me help you get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I'm going to give you 5 easy things to remember to plan for that courageous conversation. And it's as easy as who, what, when, where, and why. Let's start with who. First of all, who is the person you're thinking about? Have them front of mind for you. You want to offer help to them. But who also invites you to consider who is the right person to initiate that courageous conversation? If it's someone that you don't have a great relationship with or not close enough, I would encourage you to invite someone else in to initiate that courageous conversation. So who is the person who needs help, but it's also who is the right person to initiate that courageous conversation. Then we move on to what. What is planning this conversation? And I encourage you to get out a pen and paper and write down on it some things that you would say. Imagine having the conversation with that person. How are you feeling? I've noticed that you haven't been doing so well lately. Have you been feeling like this for a long time? Who else knows? Can I come to the GP with you? What can I do to help? As you write some of these things down, it helps center you. You will feel less nervous about having that courageous conversation with them. And some things to keep in mind here as well. Many times as we engage with conversations with people where they're opening up to us, we offer advice. We offer some war stories of our own. I would encourage you not to do that in this instance. Spend as much time as you can listening and seeking to understand, helping them proactively, rather than sharing your stories with them. So that's who, what. I'm going to go where and when together. Where are you going to have this conversation and when? Making sure you've got a nice, quiet location where no one is going to be disturbing you, where you've got minimum interaction with other people or interruptions. Giving yourself the gift of time, because this may be a 2-minute conversation, or it could be an hour if you want to be fully present for them. So where and when, I personally invite people to come out for a walk and talk. As you walk side by side, you're encouraged that you don't actually have eye contact. You get a little bit calmer because you're having a matched pace. And that just puts both parties so much more at ease. So if you're unsure how to initiate this, you don't want to go to the local coffee shop, just go for a walk and talk. So who, what, when, where. Lastly is why. Tap into yourself as you plan for this courageous conversation. Tap into the fact of why. Why are you reaching out to them? It's because you care. And don't be afraid to not say that. Let the person know, I care about you. What can I do to help you along this difficult path? So I hope that by sharing with you today the who, what, when, where, and why, that it has given you some ideas about how you might prepare for a courageous conversation, whether it's in your workplace or whether it's with someone in your personal life. My parting note to you would be, never underestimate the impact of showing another human being that you care.
Thank you,